Guys, I want to get loud all of a sudden.
Do it.
Sorry, I'm gonna.
It's you. I knew it was coming.
I'm sorry, guys, but I need to do that.
It is. You feel like Poseidon chucking that bugger down in the water.
Chucking that bugger. Did you butt out that deer?
I did not butt out that deer, but the next one I get, okay, I'm just getting its butt out.
Is that little Stevie out here in the back?
Drobop. Bow drop, I'm sorry. Drobop. Hello. Stay tuned. I'll be back after my seizure.
Every little chipmunk that was running around, everything's dead quiet, and I went, like, that just happened.
I saw what is in essence a nature-gasm.
Hey, we're around the Sonic Campfire once again. Welcome to another episode of Rutten River Pursuits. I'm Brad.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Catfish.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Steve.
I'm Will.
And I'm Captain Mark, filling in for Uncle Buck.
And Jeff Coates thinking of you we are this evening.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey,
Mark.
guys. Nice.
How you guys doing?
Beautiful evening.
Yeah, buddy.
But before we open up,
Go ahead.
we have to take a minute here, acknowledge our brother, podcast host, expert producer, Will Miser. Happy birthday, bud.
Happy birthday.
Is it?
Happy birthday, Will.
Happy birthday.
Is it my birthday?
It's your birthday.
It sure is.
Did you know that?
You were born today.
Oh, boy.
We're knowing you for the last 5 minutes. It's your birthday.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Now I remember.
Gotta be proud of that dog right now.
I'm loving it. As a guy that has to edit this up, I'm
Super excited about it.
awesome.
Mark, I heard you're giving Will a free trip for his birthday. Is that true?
Yeah, he just has to spend the gas money to get down here. We'll see what happens.
That's not. I'm sure there's more to it than that.
We'll see what happens. All right. Sorry to interrupt you there, Ryan.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. I wanted to talk about the duck hunting thing real quick. And my first question, really, just to open it up, is it just sea ducks that you guys are doing, or we got other options?
I pretty much have narrowed it down to sea ducks just because it's one of the most guaranteed waterfowl hunts that I can offer. For me to take somebody's money, I got to show them the best time that I can possibly show them. And I'm just zeroing in on that specific duck. Other guys, they concentrate on puddles and divers, and I kind of just went with the sea ducks. I did it early on, and this has kind of been a long time goal for me.
And for myself, I've kind of dialed in on the sea ducks. Years ago, it was a 107-day season. So basically from October 1st to the end of January, we could go 6 days a week here in Maryland. So when other things were closed, it was always something we can do. And I learned very quickly that it's really kind of a bucket list hunt. And there's a lot of guys out there that are looking to shoot, the North American 32, and to shoot sea ducks. Not that you can't find a sea duck inland, but you got to go to East Coast or West Coast. Go to the saltwater. And I learned very quickly that it is definitely on guys and girls' bucket list for sure.
Well, how often does that happen? Like where you get like someone, it's a checklist thing. Like you're the next stop on it. Is it like 10%, 20%, or?
Yeah, for me, it's a very high percentage. I do have guys that will come back with me, kind of year after year. But, money the way that it is these days, and with it being a shorter and shorter season, the sea ducks now on the Atlantic Flyway has been reduced to only a 60-day season. Guys can only spend so much money and travel so many days during the duck season. So it's really become a destination type hunt. And I would tell you probably at least 80%, if not pushing 90% of all my trips are more of like a bucket list and or a destination type hunt.
Cool. I don't personally know what Captain. I don't personally know what a sea duck is. What's it look like? How big is it? Like compared to a, mallard, pintail. I hear they're fast, and I've seen some of the awesome videos from Captain Mark's boat. But what does it look like?
Well, I'll let Mark explain that one to you, but I want to touch on a subject real quick. The difference between diving ducks and sea ducks. Diving ducks, scoter, old squall, eider, harlequin, when they go underwater, they actually use their wings and their feet at the same time, where a canvasback, a redhead, a bluebill, a bufflehead are only going to use their feet underwater to swim. So all these ducks are diving to the bottom to feed. And the difference, one of the major differences between a sea duck and a diving duck is that sea ducks actually use their wings underwater and almost fly underwater, if you will.
Sure.
That's why they're so hard to get when they're under the water. They dive and they just go and go and go. They could go up. I've seen them over 100 yards already, and I know Jeff has seen it plenty of times. If you don't kill them before they hit the water, they're just really, really hard to kill.
Wow. I had no idea.
No, me neither.
And I've heard that they're a lot more challenging, and mostly it's attributed to the speed.
Sure.
From what I've heard, but yeah, that's a whole different twist on it, isn't it?
It sounds like a penguin to me. I mean,
I was
it
thinking
sounds
the
like
same thing.
they sound like they can swim like a penguin.
Yeah.
So if they're using their wings,
It's a puffin.
It's a puffin.
Are you guys sure you're not penguin hunting?
We're penguin. They're penguin hunting. No. No, I mean, is it I haven't actually seen the pictures of it. I mean, if it was on my bucket list to kill a sea duck, Captain Mark, what color is it?
Well, you got the surf scooter, which is black. I kind of referred to it. I know it's not the correct way, but like a toucan bill. It's got orange, red, white in the bill. They got a white patch on their back of their neck. The males do. That would be the surf scooter. The common scooter is just a bright yellow bill, and the rest of the bird is black. Now I'm talking all males. And then we have a white wing, which Jeff usually gets a couple in his boat. I have yet to get a beautiful mature drake on the boat. Every time I get them coming in, the clients, they have a hard time getting the males. They'll kill a hen or two, but we've lost some males. But those are the three that we primarily see. Jeff gets a couple strange ones here and there. He's killed some eiders, and I have not gotten any on the boat yet.
Sure. And only because I'm ignorant to it, are you allowed to use on the eastern shore for these sea ducks? Can you still have to use steel shot, or can you use lead shot? I think that all waterfowl is, I'm from Pennsylvania, so it's all steel shot, isn't it?
Well, it's more considered to be non-toxic. So pretty much, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, any state in the United States that you hunt, you do have to shoot what they consider to be non-toxic shells. So steel, bismuth, there's all types of different loads out there today, but just basically you can't use lead. You cannot use lead.
Sure. And I was thinking that, but being on the ocean, I didn't know if I don't know, as being stupid, maritime law applies.
No, you knew that.
Your
you were
past
asking
coastal
for
waters.
the audience. You were asking for the audience.
Yeah, true.
We appreciate that.
Now, captains, as far as the limits go, like are all the ducks that you just described, are they all considered sea ducks, or is there different limits for each of the species that you just described?
Go ahead, Jeff.
We won't have to worry about that.
All right, so in the Atlantic Flyway, let me start over there. I'm sorry. So in the Atlantic Flyway, with the new reduced from 107 days, only 60-day sea duck season, in the 107 days in the Atlantic Flyway, the sea duck limit was a 7-bird maximum. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife federal framework, and in that 7 birds, you could not have more than 4 scoter. So in the past, this is our second season of the reduced season. U.S. Fish and Wildlife, the framework for the Atlantic Flyway, has reduced the total bag for sea ducks to be 5, and in that 5, you can't have more than 4 of any one species. So you can't in the 5, you can't have more than 4 scoter, 4 old squall, or 4 eider in your total 5 bag limit for the special sea duck season in the sea duck zone.
Okay.
Well, with that reduction in the time frame that you have, like what's that doing? I mean, obviously it hurts business, but like what's that do for, or what's their explanation for reducing the time frame, or like what are the ramifications they're trying to, or what are they trying to accomplish by doing that?
Well, in the Atlantic Flyway, East Coast here, they're just worried about the general health and population of sea ducks. They're very slow to reproduce. They do know that. But other than that, they don't spend a lot of money, and they don't know. They're trying to catch up and learn more about them, but they don't truly know a whole lot about it. When I first started guiding back in the late 90s, the largest commercial sea duck boat out there was a 17-foot I was in the duck boat, the TDB, 17-foot TDB, and there weren't as many guys targeting them. Recreationally hunting as well as guiding for sure. And I mean, today there's we're in big boats, specialized duck boats. There's guys out there targeting them in layout boats, and there's more and more interest in sea ducks. There's more and more interest in guys wanting to shoot ducks, especially when we've had these milder winters where the regular duck, if you will, regular ducks, puddle ducks, diving ducks are kind of off or kind of slow. Like Mark mentioned earlier, sea ducks, we can't say it's guaranteed, but sea ducks definitely guarantees you shooting. And so there's just more and more interest, and they're basically just concerned about the health of the population in the Atlantic Flyway.
And there is a ton of more people doing this now than even, true story, even when the first time I ever went sea duck hunting, I don't even know how many years it's been. I used to go in a spot where Jeff actually started out guiding, and it was funny because I seen Jeff one early morning, and I was invited to go along on my friend's boat, and that's who actually got me into sea duck hunting. But I seen Jeff go out of the same parking lot. Didn't know who Jeff was. Didn't know anything about him other than my buddy said, "That's that Pittboss guy." Little did I know, years down the road, we talk more than most people would talk.
More than you and I talk, Mark.
That's because I have to call you.
I'm always waiting.
Sincerely, honestly, Mark's telling you the truth. Where I first started guiding and I first started sea duck hunting, maybe on a Saturday. I saw nobody during the week, and maybe on a Saturday, there'd be a
two others.
Yes, I'd say a second or a third rig out there. And I have friends that go there today, and on a Saturday they'll tell me there's anywhere from 12 to 15 trailers that are, all competing for the same bird. So, and the majority of those guys using layout boats, and there is a lot of pressure on sea ducks for sure.
How many years ago do you think that's been, Jeff? That's
the first time that I gunned them there would have been like in 1996. So
yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, 21 years ago or so.
One of the things as a client that I always like to ask, I've taken lots of different trips for different kinds of fishing and bow fishing and everything. And one of my biggest questions is when somebody says, "Hey, you want to go do this?" Is I always say, "Well,
yes,
tell me about the guy's boat." So,
I was going to say you do have to keep your pants on.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that was. Listen, stingrays don't care if I wear pants or not.
Truth.
I've seen pictures of Captain Mark's boat. Can you guys give our listeners a rundown of your boats so that they kind of understand that it's more comfortable going to go hunting with you guys than it is going to be go lay out in a single man duck boat?
I'll first say that I always have guys ask, "Hey, do you guide from layout boats? Do you guide from layout boats?" And I don't. I'm not a control freak, but when you put somebody in a layout boat and maybe they're not, we never know, the level of experience of everybody that we have with us, meet them in the dark, and maybe it's the first time we're really meeting everybody, so we don't really know who truly we have on board. And when you put somebody in a layout boat and you're sitting 300, 400, 500 yards away from them, you really kind of lose a little bit of control of what they're shooting at. So I've always enjoyed, and again, not that I'm a control freak, but at the same time, sitting in the boat, you're sitting beside me, and I can, call the shot or help you identify birds. My best example of this is 2 seasons ago, and it was a duck, and it would have been, I say it wouldn't have been a malicious shot if they did shoot at it, but we had a Drake Harlequin decoy, and Harlequin are closed on the East Coast, and I would guarantee you, if I had those guys in the layout boat, that duck would have gotten shot at. So I really enjoy being in our larger boats. They're made specifically for what we do, and again they're a little bit safer. Maybe they're definitely bigger than a layout boat, and but I really like being able to try to help people identify birds and not get themselves in trouble. So kind of ramble on that one a little bit, but talking about boats, that's the first thing a lot of guys will ask me is like, are we going to layout hunt? And I just, with guiding, I just stay away from layout boats just because of if we want to call it the fudge factor of what they're shooting at and what they can shoot at and what's legal to shoot at. So it's nicer when you're sitting beside somebody and even if they're a couple feet away from you, you definitely can help coach them and tell them what to shoot, what not to shoot, and try to, at the very least, on the sea ducks that we can shoot, help them pick out the drakes and help them identify the birds.
That makes a lot of sense. Very cool.
Also, safety, too, Jeff. I mean, we both have talked about this. I was on the fence of getting one, and, just the safety factor from getting out of our boat into a layout to get, if we're using 2 singles or 1 double, just the transfer. You can only put 1 or 2 guys in each boat. So if you take 4 guys, you're running tender boat, and you got to switch out at some point. So, and it's not always nice and calm out there. I mean, we're hunting in inclement weather some days, and it is a huge safety issue.
Yep. As far as the boats go, I mean, I drive a Ford and Mark drives a Dodge, so that's kind of, we're in duck boats, but by different manufacturers. And
so what is a layout boat?
Go ahead, Mark.
Layout boat is basically a fiberglass or metal boat constructed to literally, you're sitting in the water, but you're protected from the wake. And it's basically to give you a much lower profile image to a bird.
Gotcha.
They're lethal. I mean, you on a slow day on the bay, I always tell Jeff, good day for a layout boat. If the birds are kind of being stubborn that day as far as decoying, with a layout boat, that might just need the edge that you need to get them to come in. I mean, we're both in pretty big boats, but they're made for duck hunting. So the profile, the silhouette or side profile of a bird coming in, that layout boat, they can't see it until it's too late. With the regular boats, we just stick out a little bit more.
Picture laying in a coffin while it's in the water, and just the lip of the coffin is above the water. You're laying under it.
Yeah, but you mentioned a coffin. So, back in the day, I was born in Haverty, so right off the Susquehanna, Susquehanna River comes and forms the Chesapeake Bay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On the Susquehanna Flats there, they did have a very deadly device called a sink box, which you literally were.
That is a coffin.
Under the surface of the water. And in 1935, that's when they actually started making some waterfowl laws. U.S. Fish and Wildlife did, and they basically made sink boxes illegal. So the layout boat is kind of the next best thing to it. And I think technically, the letter of the law, you can't be you can't be more than 10% of your body or below the surface of the water. So a layout boat is a kind of the old school sink box. A layout boat is that on laying on the surface of the water. You're not actually under the surface. You're laying flat on the water, if you will.
Sure.
And just to be clear, you guys said you don't use layout boats. Neither one of you, right?
Not for guiding, no.
Okay. So how does a typical hunt go? So you mentioned a little bit about decoys. So you how far out? Kind of maybe walk us through that real quick. How far out do you go? What's the decoy setup look like?
What time do you meet?
Call for them? Yeah.
Typical day.
Go, Mark.
Well, we'll meet at the boat dock, we'll meet at wherever we decide to meet. We'll go to the dock, get all our gear transferred. We'll hit the water, roughly about an hour to 40 minutes before, we start to see the sun come up. And basically, as a guide, you pretty much know where the birds were the day before. You should know. Sometimes, we have to ride around till we kick some up and see them. Other times we go out as far as we need to go out. A lot of times me and Jeff are on the ocean side. Me and him are always talking in the morning. There's a lot of iffy mornings. We're like, what are we going to do? We're going to go for it. And Jeff will usually talk me into it or vice versa. And we'll definitely go out in the ocean, which can be rough at times out there. And Jeff can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've always dealt with, you have current, you have wind direction, and you have top swell. And some days that's all going totally different directions. So
while you're trying to
once we
shoot a
get to-
duck, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, setting the decoys up, Jeff's got it down. He's been doing it a lot longer than I have. He's pretty much pioneered this, the publication, I would say. I don't even know how to describe he's made it known that these ducks are in the area on the East Coast here. But once we get out to where we're going, we'll usually set, 2, 3, 4 strings of decoys, and we'll set, a couple yards, 15, 20 yards off the decoys, basically within shooting distance for our clients. And basically we're there until it's time to pick up, or everybody's got their limit. And throughout the day, we'll get a group to come in, we'll shoot at them, make sure they're floating outside the decoys, and then we'll untie and go pick them up. It's not just that easy, though. There's a lot more involved in shooting. I don't know if I missed anything, Jeff.
No, that was my big question is, like, after the guys shoot and the ducks are obviously floating in the water, you have to, with that current and the swell and the wind, you have to unanchor and go get those ducks and then get back to your anchor and reset up. Like, it doesn't – that is not – that I'm not saying that I know what that's like, but I – have done a lot of river fishing in the wind, trying to keep a boat facing downriver and sometimes with current on the Potomac, it just seems like that's a lot of physical work to be a guide, to unanchor, go get ducks, re-anchor up, get reset.
Well, yeah, I've lost an anchor in the middle of a shoot one time. The current was that strong, and my poly ball just wasn't. It was too strong for the current. But what we do is we'll get hold, we'll get a good set, and then once we leave to go get the dead bird, or if we have to fix something or move something, we'll have a poly ball on the end of the rope, and then we'll throw the poly ball, and then once we come back to it, we'll grab the ball and the anchor line and then rehook.
Yeah. So each time we're not physically pulling the anchor out of the water. That once we're set up and our anchor's where we want it to be, basically we got a float on the end, and we're just pitching the line off, and the anchor stays in the water each time.
Have you guys ever had clients argue on your boat? Like, have you ever watched anybody, like you've had Will and me on your boat, and you've had Will and Kyle on your boat, but you have not yet had me and Stevie on your boat, which we will be arguing over who gets the last whoopie pie or whatever the argument might be. However, like, as a guide, isn't that difficult when you get two guys?
You mean gob, right?
Gob, yes.
Oh,
he meant
lost me for a minute.
I was trying to help him out, but like, there's all like with goose hunting and duck hunting on land here. There's always two guys that I hunt with, no matter where we are, going, "Oh no, I got that one. That was mine," or we're arguing about whatever. Like, how do you deal with that as a guide?
Mark should take this one.
Well, I was asking Mark.
I honestly have not. I have not really had that issue yet. I mean, I haven't had really any problems.
I was asking for a reason because we went out catfishing the other night, and Ryan and Will got into a giant fight on the river. On Bob's your uncle argument. So.
Yeah. No, I think when you're at that level that you're paying, you're making the trip, you're paying the money, you're there to do one thing, and that's the.
Yeah, but I think that there has to be. You guys got to have a story, obviously, without naming names, of like one of the weirdest clients you've had.
I guess that's what I was asking.
Like one of the strangest. Like at the end of the day, you just kind of shook your head, and the guys aren't going to believe this kind of thing.
I had that happen last year. I had a guy that as soon as we hit the dock, he disappeared, and we were sitting there setting up for pictures. And I asked the other guy, "So what's his name go?" He said, "Oh, he had to go back to a motel." He's like, I said, "Is he all right?" Because he acted like he was fine the entire trip. He said, "Yeah." He said, he told me he had to go to the bathroom like as soon as we got out there. And we were out there for like 5 to 6 hours, and literally he could have did whatever he had to do off the back of the boat. Yeah, he was gone for like almost 40 minutes, so I have no idea.
Man.
But that was kind of a weird one.
Yeah, he gone.
I guess a neat one, if you will. At least to me, it was kind of funny just because of what they asked me. But it was a son, and the son was, man, he had to be like in his early 50s. The father was like 82, and they had the father's friend along, was in his late 70s, and kind of the two old grumpy guys together kind of thing. And the father had an old Browning A5, and it just wasn't cycling. So he's starting to take it apart, and the other older gentleman start grumbling at each other, and he says, "Let me have it, I'll fix it." And the father's like, "No, I got it." And anyway, they're grabbing, and the spring takes off, and springs and washers go into the water. And they look. The funny part, the punchline to me is that they look at me and say, "Jeff, can you get that stuff for us?"
Wow.
It's 20 feet deep. No, I'm not gonna be able to get that for you. And I did have a gun along with me, and a little 1187, and I gave it to the father. I said, "Look, man, here's the deal." I said, "You can use my gun, but I said, two things. Number one, do not take it apart. And number two, do not drop overboard."
That's great.
Just stuff like that. I have occasionally. It seems like fathers bring their young sons along, possibly to have them along. I won't say to shoot their limit, but where I'm trying to go with this is that I've had some younger shooters, let's say 8 to 10 years old, 8 to 12 years old, that get tired of their fathers kind of knocking them out of their way. Like the fathers jump up first to shoot and like kind of pushing the kids out of the way. And I've had young hunters like get mad and put their guns away and like yell at their fathers, like, just stop. If you do that one more time, I'm done. And those kind of things. So
we call that the Madeira syndrome.
Yeah, that's actually the reason we couldn't go on that stingray hunt, Mark. I was explaining to my son how it was really going to be, and he didn't want nothing to do with it.
I'm going to kick you in the water as soon as I see a big one.
Now, Jeff, as far as licenses go, then how does that work for the Sea Ducks?
Well, out of state license in Maryland, it's a 3-day license. It's $45, and your state stamp is $9, so it's a total of $54. And we do not have a youth out of state license, so it doesn't really matter what the age is. It's a $54 3-day license. Oddly enough, in Maryland, you do not, for the 3-day license for waterfowl, you do not have to have proof of hunter safety. So pretty much anybody can buy a license. There's no minimum or no minimum age for buying licenses.
So there's no excuses, is what he's trying to say.
Yep.
Okay.
Noted.
Yeah. No, thanks, Mark.
Noted.
Yeah, I do want to rewind just for a second when we're talking about retrieving birds. With retrieving birds, there was a time in my life that you would not see me without a dog, and I had a female. I usually like females, black dogs, and coot and dime. The old coot and diamond dogs were very good for us. And there would be times when, if the birds were dead, that 16 scoter got retrieved with never having to move the boat. So they were good dogs, but I ran into about a 13 or 14 foot tiger shark one day.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, with a younger dog in the water, and that kind of cured me from taking dogs. And I got to tell you, man, over the years of letting dogs just swim in the water and retrieve everything, I almost had a feeling of that I was irresponsible for all those years that I did let them just swim. And but it was just kind of a different time and place. But it's been probably Booger's 11 years old now, and he was 7. So it's been a few seasons back that when he was in the water with the shark. But the shark was long, but the thing that I really recall is just the girth of the thing, man. It was just 55-gallon drum. I mean, wow. It had some big old girth to it, and it was in early December, so the water was cold or cooler for sure. And I was just very, very surprised to see a shark that large there.
Old 3-legged booger.
Yeah, man.
Bless his heart.
How far out are you off the coast?
Mark was talking about a typical day. Over the years, I've always really preferred shooting birds. We call them we will not call them traffic birds, but birds that are in transit, kind of starting. We're in between where they start in the morning and where they're going to end up, late morning, early afternoon. And so it's really kind of more of picking, in my mind, picking the flight path.
Okay.
Early season, they tend to be a little closer to shore, and as the season goes on, they move out a little bit, especially in the ocean. We're kind of in between, the Delaware Bay and the Chesapeake Bay down the mouth of the bay in Virginia. So we get a lot of birds trading back and forth. And but like even my early days on the Chesapeake Bay, I never really shot them where they were feeding. I was kind of always in between, where they started in the morning and where they were going to end up. And with that style of gunning and targeting those birds, I've always found that you get bigger bunches of better decoying birds. So when you kind of gun them where they're feeding, you kind of get the singles and the pairs, and you probably don't really see maybe more than 6 birds together. But when you're getting the traveling birds, even late season when they're traveling, you get birds that are bunches of let's say 10, 12, and plus. Early season when the migration's on, there's bunches of 150 to 200 scoter that are all migrating and heading south. So it just depends on what time of the year it is. The bunch of the bunches of how they're traveling. But like I said, I've always enjoyed. I call it the wow factor. I think it's cool, even with doing it every day, when you have 25 to 50 birds that come right to the decoys, and if you don't shoot at them, half of them land. I just think that still gets me excited too.
Well, will you like during the day, like say it's an off day, will you pick up and move out, or will you stick to that one spot, the one you picked out for that day?
Go ahead, Mark.
No, we're usually, as far as an off day, you mean once we get out there?
Yeah. Once you find out where you want to go, and you think you know where they're going, but things aren't just working out, or the water's too rough, or whatever.
Well, on the ocean side, we pretty much stay put. Once we set up, we know they're going to come through there. We just don't know when. We like Jeff just said, they got a pretty long stretch to go. So I've also worked with Jeff on parties already that he's set up, and sometimes we'll set up in a straight line, but just one's out further than the other. And with that being said, halfway through the trip, we keep in contact to see who's doing what and where, and we'll switch it up. Like if his group isn't getting the shooting that my group is, or vice versa, we'll move those parties. But for the most part, we pretty much stay put out in that ocean. I know Jeff drops 30, 40, 50 feet. My drops are around 40 to 50, 60 foot. We're in deep water. I mean, and it's pretty to move. We're using pretty heavy anchors on each end of the strings, and to move those just takes a lot of work and a lot of time, out of the trip. And that's time. You can sit there for an hour and not see a bird. But as soon as you go grab a decoy line to move it, here comes 20 or 30 of them, and they want to pitch right in. It happens every time.
If you guys are out there, can you get any crosstalk from other captains? I noticed one of the times when I was bow fishing with you, not only do you know Jeff, but you know a lot of the other boats out there, and getting crosstalk over the radio can help other people. You helping them helping you. Do you guys ever get that kind of thing where there's other boats out there that says, hey, they're south of, the jetty or whatever the case may be? Or is it more secretive, like tuna fishing?
There's not too many guys doing it, and Jeff helps me, and I help Jeff, and not that he needs my help, but basically, we do stay in contact and tell each other what we're doing, and it's pretty much we're the only ones doing it, on a regular basis in this area. There's other places, if we'd go and hunt together, we'd be the same thing, but there's not a lot of traffic.
Right.
Yeah, and again, it's more of too with the traveling birds. It's really just picking the line. If you think of them flying parallel to shore, it's more of the the educated, I won't say guess, but the educated knowledge of again, what time of the season it is. And again, the days you've been out there prior to tomorrow's hunt to how far we're going to go out. And it is much different when it is blowing hard and we can't get straight out on the ocean, kind of hitting some of the, the back bays and some of the bigger rivers. It's just different there. The birds are there in there feeding, and the water's much shallower. And if anything, it actually helps sometimes to have multiple boats around you, that the birds just don't all kind of raft up in one area. And sometimes a little bit of pressure on them actually is a good thing in the areas when they're feeding. But on the when they're traveling and they're going to go fly for 2 hours, it's really more of just picking that line that they're going to be flying in.
I've heard people call them the caribou of the sea.
Well, if I could go back, Captains, real quick to touch on tactics some more. This whole waterfowl thing, the whole gamut of it is new to me. But one thing I've heard consistently with any other waterfowl guys that we've talked to is a lot about calling. So you've talked about your tactics where you're setting up on these, these travel lines and getting the birds that are traveling. And I heard the decoying. Is there a lot of calling involved in a scenario like this, or are you guys just using the decoys to key in on the birds and have them land?
I do a string of calls, and I'm not even going to get into those strings because it's just so difficult. You got to really be good to call in sea ducks. Just kind of taught me the art of it, and it is difficult. I still don't have it.
Go ahead and hit some of them.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, let's hear it, Mark. It can't be that bad.
Here, sea ducks, sea ducks, sea ducks, sea ducks.
Yeah,
That's
never
the one
mind.
I've been working
just
on.
stop. You're terrible.
Yeah.
I told you I'm not as good.
And specifically Scoter, they're all visual, man. It's about having decoys out, and we actually wave black flags at them. So very much, anybody that flags for Canada geese, it's very similar to that, to flagging Canada geese in a field. We're just trying to get their get the Scoter's attention. They're flying, 2 feet off the water. And if they're flying 2 feet off the water and they're 200 yards outside you, that angle, they can't see very far. I'm still not convinced these days whether the flag scares them or, it grabs their attention. I guess it's really the same difference. But when you hit them with the flag, they kind of all flare up and rise up off the water and, get 20 feet, 50 feet, 100 feet up. You keep flagging at them. They can see the decoys and they make the turn. And once they make the turn, you got them.
It is funny to see how far out they are. And if you work them, they come in and do a circle, and then they'll pitch right in. It's pretty neat to see. I enjoy the heck out of it.
I just flew in from the Eastern Shore. Boy, my arm's tired.
There it is.
That leads me to another question. Like, you're not just buying these decoys. Like, you're actually making them.
I'm buying decoys. Like I said, Jeff's been at this for a long, long time. He's kind of made this his passion, and he's really honed into these specific birds. I bought good decoys and made them better. Jeff starts from scratch, the whole 9 yards. So I'll let him touch on that.
Well, Mark was my motivation. So last year he did go and buy bigger foam decoys. So then I had to go make bigger cork.
I thought I had one up on old coats, and he sent me a picture, and he went and made like monsters compared to mine.
Triple XL.
You said you make them out of cork?
Yeah, these I do. Yeah, I mean it's the amount of cork that goes in them, the amount of material. If they were cedar, they would be, the cork's expensive. But if they were cedar birds, they'd be even more. But they're I started out with 8-inch thick cork. I put a bottom board on them, so they're pushing 8.5, 8 3/4 inches tall. They're about 24 inches long, and they're 14 inches wide. So I used to do a lot of decoy contests back in the day, and some of these birds I started back in 2002, and I always had wanted to hunt over them. And this is the truth. Mark did go and he bought these big foam decoys and showing me what he was doing to them, and he's coating them and painting them and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, you know what, man, I need to get off my rear end, and I need to get these cork ones finally finished so I can actually gun over these things. Last year, I didn't use more than 18 decoys, so three strings of 6. They were so big, so everything seemed to decoy them to them pretty good. So I think that's what I'm going to continue this year.
Yeah, there was a guy down in Lancaster that was making goose decoys, and they were really expensive for per piece. And once again, it might be just because of his name on it or whatnot, but you get into custom decoys, they can be pretty expensive.
Probably.
Time and materials and time is kind of what it comes down to a lot of times,
Yeah.
Jeff sells his decoys. What do you get for a gunned over decoy, Jeff? You actually sell your scoters.
I do. So some of the smaller ones that I was making before these big ones were hollow cedar scoter, and anywhere from like $150 to $175 a bird.
And you sell them after you've used them, so that's a point of that's a point of sale for you, I guess.
They work, right?
They work.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, guys want it's more of that they do want something that's shot, or a lot of times I have guys that instead of getting birds mounted, they don't want to get birds mounted, but they want a decoy, out of the rig that they shot their bird over.
That's a good idea.
So that kind of stuff. But I would tell you that generally, I bet you 98% of the time, if it's not shot over, somebody doesn't want it. They really do want birds that have been gunned over.
Yeah, well, we can't sell our used decoys, whether it's my geese or the ducks that we have at Sammy's
I got
blind.
a couple turkey decoys.
Yeah, they all got holes in them.
I shot through them. That should make them sell for
They're
even
not
more.
shot over; they're shot into. I got a goose decoy that sounds like a maraca. It's got beads wrapped around its head.
Captain Mark, what's your favorite sea duck recipe?
Oh my gosh, the teriyaki one's a killer.
Teriyaki with caramelized gummy worms over top.
Yeah. Teriyaki, lots of teriyaki and a little bit of garlic.
You cook that in your Traeger?
I was going to ask Captain Mark if he has a portable Traeger on his boat. There's a good question. Do guys bring a cooler in their lunch with them, or what do they expect there with?
Jeff does feed his crew, and I had to feed my crew because I'm beside Jeff. But I will not serve.
Chef Captain.
I refuse to serve any soup on my boat because that's already been done.
What about chowder?
I will not. Jeff, go ahead and tell them what you do and your whole process with the food.
Well, in the beginning, I really tried to cook breakfast, and like we were talking about, hey, there's no birds flying. We're going to move the decoys, and as soon as you touch the decoys, here comes 30 birds in, right? So inevitably, as soon as everything slowed up, I could start cooking. I'd start doing some eggs, and somebody'd shoot a bird, and then we'd be running around and chasing cripples, whatever, and everything would be burnt. So I really, and spinning back to talking about it's a bucket list type hunt and a destination type hunt. I kind of forgot. It's maybe that kind of thing when you have it, it's not that big of a deal to you. But seafood is a really big deal to guys that don't live here and are traveling from out of the area. So I thought, what better thing to do is I'm going to kind of play on the whole seafood thing, and I'm going to make crab soup and something easy to make prior. And basically, all I'm going to do is when I get out there, I'm not really cooking it. I'm just heating it up, and got a little burner stove. Got a pot of soup, and we can chase a bird for 15 minutes, and I'm not going to burn anything, and or guys can sit their bowls down on the shelf, and we can take care of business and get anchored back up, and they can enjoy their soup again.
That's
so
brilliant. I like the can cooker would be perfect for that.
I think.
There you go, Mark.
Didn't you have one of those, bud?
I used the can cooker, and I was doing some eggs and bacon and stuff like that. But you can seriously get an eggs and bacon sandwich at Wawa or Royal Farms in the morning. So I had to go totally the opposite way and be original. I started out
filet
with some hot dogs and cheeseburgers because there's no wrong time for a cheeseburger or a hot dog. And then I kind of stepped it up, and I'm going to go with this from here on out. I think
corn dogs.
With it. Definitely not corn dogs.
Oh, come on.
Peanut butter cups.
Yes, definitely peanut butter cups. No, but I started doing meatball subs. So we get out there and again, slows up. I put the can cooker on, warm some meatballs and some sauce, get some cheese and bread out, and we just have a good time with some meatball subs.
Do you make the meatballs, or is it like out of a plastic bag somewhere?
Yeah, it's kind of a plastic bag up to this point. Now,
Aunt Jeannie's.
Yeah, it's not been homemade. I made doctors some stuff up this year. Now that I have a little bit more time to play with some things, I might surprise myself and my clients. Who knows?
I love meatballs. I don't think there's a set of hunting clothes I have that don't have meatball stains on them.
I've never had a bad one.
I had one today.
Well,
I swear to God.
Really?
That's awesome.
they'd be corn dogs and whoopie pies if I had my own duck boat.
Yeah. Mine would be Strombolis.
Amen.
Strombolis.
You're going to have a brick oven pizza cooker on your...
Heck yeah. Strombolis and corn dogs.
Problem is, we're in the waves, and sometimes it's just as wet in the boat as it is outside the boat. So, we got to be careful what we take.
That's why you got to go with the corn dog, because it's in a protective shell.
Yes.
I'll tell you what, I'd take a couple hooks, a roll of 20-pound mono, and some bloodworms, and sushi. I'm cheap.
Oh.
That's why nobody.
Whatever you
nobody
drag
comes
over
on
the
my
side's
charter.
what you're eating.
Yeah.
Why would you want to eat
Just
hooks and bloodworms?
Hand line something, and it comes.
Sounds terrible.
Stingray chowder.
So,
I would not serve soup. I can't.
It's too much.
I can't serve soup.
All right.
You could always do a stew or a chowder. They're good too.
So how much experience would someone need to go on one of these sea duck hunts? Like, can it just be someone,
Can it be Stevie?
So
Stevie's asking if he can invite himself.
Yeah, me and Steve come down.
yeah, so like
We allowed on
someone
the boat.
that's
Never-
not an experienced waterfowl hunter.
Well, never not is a double negative, which
Never
is
not.
positive.
Well, I'm in that boat too, Stevie. I've never hunted sea ducks.
But never hunted ducks, period.
I tell people if they like to shoot the gun to come aboard, because to me it's a lot of shooting. I've counted, and Jeff could probably count just the same, but 10, 11 shots for one bird till we got it in the boot.
Oh, I
After
could
it hit the
easily
ground.
double that.
That sounds like a challenge.
Are there plugs?
How about it, Jeff? There's a lot of shooting.
It is, and I think it's a social time, and it's a fun time. Just like you guys, laughing and cutting it up. I mean, that's what you got. That's what you got. Pretty much, it can be all morning long. Because it's not something you have to be still, have to be quiet, have to be this, that, or the other. You can just it's a social good time, and generally, I mean, there are some days that it's quote off, but generally it's on, and it offers a lot of shooting. It's not like here comes your birds and you better shoot all of them because to get your limit. It's okay. You missed that bunch here. You wait a couple minutes, and there'll be some more come along.
What do you normally tell your clients to bring as far as boxes of shells?
Well, I mean, the sea ducks limit. It's like I talked about earlier. It's a 5-bird limit. So I mean, I've seen guys burn through. I had. And I collected most of them and put them in a 5-gallon bucket. I had 3 guys admit to me that they could have shot 15 birds. I had 3 guys admit to me they shot at least 175 shells and they just had 10 birds.
Wow.
So
It's like dove hunting.
I like it.
Yeah, it can be. It can be. I mean, the boat's rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
And there's something you guys were talking about how fast they fly. I think it's something about you watch these things from a distance. And here they come, and they're black. And I think they look like they're not moving. And guys, generally, Mark can tell you. I mean, generally they're shooting behind them, and when you shoot them in the tail, they're going to keep flying. And it does.
Or they'll die, and that's like whack-a-mole in the water with a boat that's going up and down about 2 foot.
Is this a trip that you don't take if you're prone to seasickness?
It can be. I mean, there's days that it's flat as a pond, and then there's other days that there's a big swell and it's rocking and rolling. And in my experience, I can't say daily, but in last year's 60 days, I would say probably. But there's about 5 or 6 people that got sick in the 60-day season.
That'll turn your season into chowder quick.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And if that's an issue, I mean, we have other options. I mean, we have the bay, we have the Chesapeake Bay, and we have other bays, to go in where you're not going to have that constant top swell. You're going to have the chop, but you're not going to have the top swell. I call it the top swell, but it's just the constant up and down and up and down. Like in the bays where you'll just have the waves. It's not a total up and down.
So
Yeah, I mean that's something I'm afflicted with at times. And
you'll be all right, bud.
Yeah, don't be scared.
What I'm seeing is a case of shells and the H6
yeah,
inside one of these duck boats.
yeah.
We should do that podcast from the boat.
There's been talk, and
Well, let's make it more than talk.
There's been talk.
I like that guy's thinking. Jeff's a lot busier than I am. We could do big groups if planned out.
yeah. And you've done that. You said that you've done parties together where you're running two boats.
Jeff set up a big corporate deal last year. And how many boats do we have, Jeff?
Actually, 3 of us, 12. Generally, in our boats, we like to take 4 people. Works out well. And they had 12. Actually, I had a couple more than 12, but we ended up taking 3 boats to basically accommodate everybody. So I think it worked out pretty well.
Cool. So we kind of touched on this a little bit more, but Jeff, I've seen a bunch of your YouTube videos. Mark, we've talked to you several times. You guys obviously like to have a good time. You're pretty funny guys. What is that the typical environment on the boat? I mean, is it you're trying to make guys? Is it a fun?
Well, any guy, if he's good, even if it's a bad day, is going to show you a good time. This year, I had the first time I ever had to deal with somebody who really didn't want to be on my boat, and
The nerve.
Was it Will?
it was not. He did not come down. But make a long story short, that this kid, thought he was going to go out for a certain amount of time, did not realize his buddy booked for all day. Our jobs, we pretty much, other than occasionally seasickness, and that very seldom happens, but, everybody wants to be there. Like, nobody does not want to be there. So we don't have, like, an attitude to begin with, unless something throughout the trip goes wrong. But like I tell people, I have a good job because everybody that shows up to get on the boat is smiling and happy and just wants a good time. And I don't know if Jeff has anything to add to that, but I think we both talked about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, generally, like you just said, Mark, I mean, people are, this is, I don't know if it's their only highlight of their season, but I mean, it's a highlight to travel, to come do this. It's more than likely it's something they have not done before. It's birds they haven't seen before. It's a different experience. And, generally, guys and girls, are young and old, are all about having fun. So it's rare that people, are griping and grumbling and don't have a smile on their face. So, I have younger guys all the time. I can't say all the time, but often I'll have younger guys get a hold of me saying, "Hey, I'm in high school, about to graduate to go to college, or I'm in college and I want to, what do I need to do to be a guide? What do I need to do to be a guide? Oh man, I can blow a goose call, I can blow a duck call, I can hunt. And I think really what it turns out to be is to be a successful guide is more about your people skills and your social skills, because you're kind of become the cruise director. Guys are coming into the area. There's, example would be, last year guys traveled from Texas to come here to Maryland to again do the bucket list hunt. And besides the hunt, they want to know what's the area, what's the history, what's the tradition, where can they go good to eat tonight, on and on and on. So I mean, it's really about, you do need to be a good hunter. You do have to have good hunting skills, but it's I think it really turns out to be more of your quote people skills. It makes you a more successful guide.
I agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been out with a lot of guides for a lot of different things in hunting and fishing, and the guide can make or break a good hunt to a bad hunt, and vice versa. I agree with that 100%.
Yep. I mean, there's some parties I take where it's like I'm part of the group and I'm right there with them, and other guys are, they were talking about business or their families or whatever else, and I sit there and don't say a word to them because they're obviously, into their into their private conversation kind of thing too. So I mean, it's like I said, I think it really comes down to your people skills.
Yeah, every day is a little bit different.
Speaking of one of my favorite guides, I was just happening to look, and I'm going to be in the Eastern Shore on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And Friday is 70+ degrees out with 5-mile-an-hour winds and beautiful sunny out.
That sounds like an absolute Ray killing day.
It does. Done 5-mile-an-hour winds. Yeah.
I've gotten it done in 25-mile-an-hour winds this year.
Must have had me on your boat.
Stevie's calling off work on Friday. He's coming down.
Tomorrow? Yeah.
No.
Next Friday.
Next Friday.
Next Friday.
Yeah.
Not this Friday. Next Friday.
So,
Sounds like a plan.
in closing, I mean, there's a lot of other services or other services that you guys offer. Captain Jeff, why don't you start us off real quick? Just kind of give us a quick rundown what else you offer other than sea duck hunts and how people can learn more about you, get in touch with you. You're out there a lot on the Eastern Shore, so give us a rundown of that, please.
Yeah, well, thank you. I've been doing this full time since 1999, and again with the longer season, I was doing between, let's say, 85 and 90 days of sea ducks. Also, with the new reduced season, there's more time to target brant. So little saltwater goose, we do some brant hunts, and got my due for Drake Waterfowl's Migration Nation. I'm Northeast Regional host for that TV show, and Mark even joined us last year, and he got to shoot his first brant. So brant is another popular thing here on the saltwater. But basically, as I always say this, basically because I don't want a real job. Of the waterfowling really kind of filled that niche and really helped me out with the new reduced season. During the summer now, I fish more. We have a webpage, pittbossfishing.com. The waterfowl page is pittbosswaterfowl.com. But Karen and I fish a good bit through the summer. So once the waterfowl season's over, February's definitely slow here. And once we get to late March, we can start targeting the schoolie rockfish, and so there's good really from late March right through the first New Year's Eve. New Year's Day. There's really a lot of fishing going on. So really, that February, the month of February and or early March is probably about the only time there's not fish here to catch. But I'm easy to find. I love social media and Instagram, YouTube, and the web. I'm out and about, and I'm easy to find. So awesome. I appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Your turn, Captain Mark.
Yeah, so I do the sea duck guide hunt full time. November 4th to January 13th this year is what the season is. So you can contact Jeff or I for a hunt, and then in the summer. I do from basically late March all the way to next weekend, right, Catfish? We do bow fishing trips.
That's right.
Stingrays, gar, carp, the whole 9 yards. So Dusted On Bow Fishing is my summertime gig. DustedOnBowFishing.com, and then the sea duck trips, MarylandWaterfowl.com. So you can check us out. YouTube, videos, Instagram, the whole 9 yards.
Very cool.
Perfect. Sounds great.
Very cool. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show. It's always awesome to have you on the show, Mark. And Jeff, I know we've talked a couple of times. It's your first time on the show. Thanks again, man. Thanks.
Appreciate your time.
Thanks for coming on.
Well, guys, I appreciate you having me on. And as always, thinking of you, we are. Yes.
Thanks, Jeff.
Love it,
Thanks,
man.
Mark.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And I'm Uncle Phil signing off. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, Phil.
All right, guys.
All
See you.
right. Thanks,
All
guys.
right. See you, man. Thanks.
Appreciate
Bye.
it. See you, gentlemen.
That was good stuff. I'm ready to give it a go.
Are you?
Yeah.
You ready to miss like 20 ducks?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm ready to miss any time. So bring it. I haven't done a minute of waterfowl hunting yet, and I think that's a great place to start.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it might be
Go big or go home, right?
downhill from there, yeah.
Downhill's easier.
We better start stocking up on ammo now.
This is the first year that my son's really into dove hunting. So I just recently bought a case. Can't use lead shot though. Dang it.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you gotta.
I gotta buy a different case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The expensive stuff too.
I know a guy.
A guy who knows a guy.
Yeah.
Speaking of dove hunting,
Did you get out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you go?
no, that's one of my favorite childhood memories. Going dove hunting with my grandfather, my father.
This is what it sounds like when doves fly.
Do you still hear them, Bradley?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. No, I mean, have you guys? How much dove hunting have you guys done? Like, I'm not. It's like,
No, I went once with catfish.
That
Okay.
used to be the starting point of the hunting career.
right. I mean, and the hunting season, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was like this is kicking it off.
My dad never took me. I went with a couple friends in high school a handful of times, and that was really just much like my sea duck hunting would be.
Yeah.
It was just shooting a gun in the air. I wasn't hitting nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's tough because that's where you get the whole thing of leading and then the height and all that stuff, and then you don't want to shoot directly above you, of course, or towards houses, as I learned very early. But I just remember.
Specific lesson.
I mean, and we go out for evenings and there'd be nothing, no doves coming at all, and later on. Or another night, I mean, you just couldn't. I mean, you couldn't. Your barrel was too hot to touch because there were so many doves.
Too
out.
hot to handle, too cold to hold.
So I mean, that's one of my favorite memories. I'm glad you're getting your boy out to do it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I took him last year. We didn't even see anything to take a shot at this year. He did get one last week. We never found it.
Dove nuggets.
Yeah, we actually never found the bird, but he
McDoves.
He powdered it. They're just feathers falling for about 4 or 5 minutes, but it nose dove into the standing corn behind us and didn't have a dog. I was the dog, and I went about 20 rows deep and walked up and down each row a couple times.
I think there's a show.
What's that?
Dove Dogs of Adams County.
Let's do it.
Yep,
I've seen that. Is that on PBS?
PBR.
it's on
PBR.
it's on Natty Geo.
Natty G. So what's new with you guys?
Why don't you start, Kyle?
Me?
Yeah.
Long
what's new
time
with
no
you?
here.
Yeah, long time no here. Archery season's opened up in special regs down by me. Haven't really gotten out a whole lot. I've
What?
Been out. I know. Kids will do that to you.
Oh, here we go.
He just
But,
didn't
hey,
want to rub it in our
yeah.
faces.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only been out twice.
He's giving us a chance.
Well, if you factor in mornings and evenings, 3 times, but who's counting?
You are.
Okay, you're right. Have had a couple close calls. I even had Will out with me for the opener, and Will.
Dangerously close.
We've been too close for comfort, but my brother got one last Friday when we were out together. So I mean, at least there's one up on the board for.
That's good.
I did see some skin and photos.
Yeah.
There's 2 on the board.
Well, it's technically 3 if you factor in the one Darren got on Wednesday. So we're not doing too bad for about a week or 2 weeks into the season.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, pretty much focusing on hunting season, archery. I did get some good footage of some nice buck that Saturday evening that Will and I went out, but no shot again. They stuck out there at 85 yards, putting the slip on me.
It's like they know.
I think what jinxed me was when they called me Travis called me total killer.
Total killer.
Yeah, you just got to call me the almost killer. Just getting close. I'm seeing them, but not getting any shots off.
That's your name on the FBI poster. Almost killer.
The almost killer. He's almost wanted.
He almost killed someone every day last week.
Story of my life. What about you, Stevie? I heard you've had quite the week.
I fished a couple times this week, but nothing to speak of.
Did you shoot a new bow?
You caught 2 today.
Yeah.
3.
I got a new phone today.
I'm excited for people who follow your Instagram with this new phone.
Yeah.
Look out.
Yeah, I heard you're going to be
Look
posting
out.
5 pics a day. Is that true?
Don't get crazy.
That's the new Samsung wet waiter, right?
The Samsung with the WW.
It's the W squared.
the Samsung W squared wet waiter. No, yeah, I got a new phone. That's it. Nothing new.
It's got 2 cameras on both sides.
No. Two
He's gonna
cameras.
post twice
Two
as many
cameras, one
pictures.
side.
2 cameras in the rear, 1 camera in the front. Yeah. So
He
I
said,
guess you could say things are getting
So you
pretty
got 3
serious.
cameras then.
yeah.
3 cameras.
So you told me that when you plug it in to charge it, the lights dim.
At home? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it's bad.
Yeah.
Sounds like you need a new breaker, buddy.
No,
No, it's the power of
it's
this
just-
phone,
It
bud.
just surges. Yeah, I don't know what to do.
Actually, it's powering the house. It's actually charging
it's
the house up.
backfeeding into the house.
Yeah. Back to Kyle, like how? So you're in with a new bow, right?
Yeah.
This is your first
Yeah.
season with a bow. Like, how confident are you with the bow?
Did you draw?
I haven't even had the opportunity to draw.
That's right.
I'm pretty confident with the bow out to like 40 yards,
If-
which I have no intention of
If
shooting.
Kyle
out
draws
past that.
back, he will make it rain.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, the Bowtech rain will rain.
I've heard it. Ziz.
Did you hear this?
It was
Did you?
It's fast.
Yeah,
For shizzle.
it's just like
Just like that. Bradley,
Yes.
anything new for you?
Nothing new. I am looking forward to Saturday. I mean, this is archery season. This is the big day. And
Statewide opener.
Yeah.
Did you got
About
out
time
last
you
year
guys
with
catch
your
up.
new bow. This is your second year for your bow.
Yeah, and I didn't take too many walks with my my new bow last year. And I was telling Ryan here a couple nights ago that for years and years and years I've been ready to go hunting every year. I mean, I've been dialed in up to 40, maybe 50 yards. No problem taking that shot. And shooting. Everything's washed 2 weeks before, ready to go. This year, and in all those years, I get out 4, at the most, 5 times.
Yeah.
This year, no prep, handful of shots, but with my bow, I think I'm pretty deadly with it.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that the
You had a heck of a Bowtech working on it.
that's right, and and one living right beside me. So it's
That's
they're
convenient.
the same guy, but like
Fletch.
here's the thing, like I hope that the anticipation of it, like maybe I'll change my luck. I'll go out more this year. So, but I am going out Saturday for sure, and it is going to be a great year. And here's the thing, today, for the last like 5 or 6 days, it's been 80s and 90s.
90s,
Everything just
horrible hunting weather.
everything just dropped.
It's
The weather just dropped down.
yeah.
I think the deer are going to be running on Saturday.
Yeah.
And
I got my report from Trace, our good buddy Tracy Groves. I asked him what he thought. He said it might be a little bit slow in the morning, but the evening's going to be amazing.
I think that if tomorrow, like we're on Thursday right now, and Friday, I think would be the day because it's supposed to go down to like 40 degrees tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And I think this whole weekend they're just going to be
Yeah, this weekend's
running.
gonna be great.
Or Sunday's going to be the best day for him.
Yeah.
Probably.
Good news.
Always is. Always.
We can go fishing.
Yeah, we can go fishing
I
on
heard
Sunday.
it's a great day to fish.
That might be the plan on Sunday.
I think we should do it.
Yeah.
What about you, Fletchmaster Fletch?
Well, for me, it was a lot of the same. Archery prep, got the bow shot in, more dialed in, shot with the broadheads. Everything's shooting perfect. Washed the clothes.
Fixed blade.
Yes, of course.
Bless
If
you.
your bow's tuned properly, your fixed blades will hit exactly where your field points do. So
Where do your expandables hit? Where do they fall in on this?
they hit in the exact same place as my fixed blades, which is the same place as my field tips.
Okay, just making sure.
Stack them all on top.
Okay.
One on top of the other till it reaches back. And you can
Literally,
just-
if
you
I
can
aim
pull
at
them
the
all
same
out of the target at the same time.
Well, I go through a lot of veins. That's for darn sure.
You're
And
very veiny.
aim
Yeah.
at a different place. I also got to partake in a little bit of nighttime catfishing.
Ooh.
The invite was there, but it was like, I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can do it. Oh my gosh, I think I can do it. And
Yahtzee.
called in, and I said, I'm going to be there, boys. And I met up with Will and Catfish on the river. Of course, I was running a little late. I'm pretty sure I came in
You came in hot.
I heard two of you guys were coming in hot.
Did Will beat you there? Like Will was there before you?
Yes, he
Oh,
was.
you were late.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
You were late, bud.
Like, I'm still driving there, and Will sends me a pin on the map. Like,
Oh,
this is
boy.
where we're at. What are you doing? And I'm like, oh, man. It's just not.
Yeah, you might want to consider joining us.
So I finally got
It
there.
isn't the kind of dirt road you want to come in hot on either.
No, I learned that quick too. But I finally met up with the guys right along the river, and I got there just in time to unload the kayaks and touch water as we're losing light. And paddled out sort of under the moonlight, sort of by the guide of our headlamps. And these guys just told me what to do. I was backing up a little bit, and they're like, oh, we're going to anchor up. There's a big hole coming up here. We're going to anchor up, get everything dialed in. You just sort of pull in.
Ease it on in, bud.
Between two kayaks.
We got
and that's where I got to spend my evening.
We got Ryan between two kayaks.
Between two kayaks.
Is this at the Wounded Knee hole?
It was actually.
Yes, it was.
It's a good spot.
And honestly, I felt terrible for Catfish and for Will, because they had the bait buckets, they brought the rods. I've got, relatively speaking, in the terms of catfish tackle, light tackle. So what I've got is for bass. So they brought the rods. Catfish brings the bluegills. They're on either end, so they're rigging everything up. And as they finally get a rod rigged up and get a bluegill on the line and throw it out, they're working on the next rod. That first one gets a hit. And all they could do is hand it to me, because they're in the middle of tying on hooks and leaders and weights. And they're doing all kinds of stuff. And they're like,
Poor
here,
guy.
reel this one in. I'm like, are you sure, guys? Yeah. So I'm landing, like, literally, what was it? Probably a dozen catfish in the first hour.
Yeah.
Before you guys could finally get caught up.
Wow.
And then once you were able to get caught up, it was like, all right, you guys catch a couple. Oh, wait. The bite turned off for a little while.
Bite turned off for a good while.
Is that typical to catch that many in the first hour? Does that usually happen like that?
It's not. It don't have to be the first hour. There is an hour.
There is.
You never know when that hour is going to be, but there's typical 2 bites, 2 hot times for catfishing throughout the evening. You just don't know when it's going to be. It's a waiting game. But normally when you start to get 1 or 2 on the line, that next hour to hour and a half is probably going to be it. Now, the big difference is they're like channel cats and smaller flatheads, and you'll get into a pow of, 5, 15-pounders in between that range, and you can be sitting in dead silence for nothing for 3 hours, and, or an hour or whatever, and that's when the big one hits. Like, the big monsters seem to hunt alone.
Like that one that just ripped my rod down.
Yeah. And it's a good thing. Like, if you're getting a lot of bites and everything it's like a ghost town. Like, everything goes away like a light switch. A lot of times a big predatory cat's around, and he'll chase smaller cats out.
Yeah.
So it's not always a bad thing that the bite stops if you're hunting big predatory cats. But unfortunately for us that night, we had a good bit of bites too that they didn't take the hook. A lot of big smacks, but didn't take the hook.
How weird is that? When the rods are bouncing around.
Yeah, and you're sitting back, and everything's done by headlamps pretty much at that point. Catfish brought a couple of little glow sticks and stuff out that we were kind of having a rave out there.
Yeah,
man rave.
Yeah, no, but most of the time we're actually watching them just in the skyline.
Yeah.
We have lights off, and you can see them just with a little bit of moonlight. You can see stuff moving, and every once in a while you're like, did it move? And then you click on the headlamp and you check it out a little bit. I'm not going to say, though, unfortunately, when I say that the bite slowed down, because that gave me an opportunity to appreciate where I was. Like, I'm not joking at all when I say till we anchored up and these guys were explaining to me what's going on. They're literally handing me rods and I'm landing catfish. When the bite finally slowed down is when I got to appreciate where I was at. Like, it was so quiet and so calm till, that train's coming and the whole river starts to shake a little bit from the train coming by. But quiet. And
dark.
Then Will's over there. You want a Reese's cup? It's like, yeah, I'll take one. Absolutely. Bring it on.
Sitting in the river in the middle of the night staring at the stars eating Reese's Cups is a good thing.
Oh, it is. It is. And it was quiet. And then every once in a while, just be somebody would say something, and then we'd start giggling like Stevie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, it's good stuff.
Raccoons
good stuff,
got
and I
crazy.
appreciate it. Oh, yeah,
The raccoon fight.
On the island.
Sound like two banshees trying to kill each other.
Yeah, it was madness.
It's a scary sound.
But I mean, being out in the middle of the river, like you shouldn't be there under normal circumstances, and it's just pitch black. Yeah.
I appreciate you guys letting me tag along, so thank you.
Are you okay after all that trauma, Ryan, of catching all those fish? Like, you gonna be all right?
My wrist hurts a little bit, and I got some. I would have called it bass thumb, but it's catfish thumb. And actually, I got catfish back in my knuckles.
There you go.
For a while, I had a nice little laceration. I put a Band-Aid on it.
I had
I'm all right.
2 new setups, 2 new rods, and they both hooked up. So got that monkey off my back.
Yeah,
things are good.
And don't let me fool you guys. Will got to take in some fish too.
Yeah.
Did catfish land any?
I did not.
Now I feel bad.
I hooked 7 or 8 or 10 of them.
But Will would have had
catfish.
one less.
Catfish went out like the couple days before or the week before. Or
Yeah, Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean they were hog.
How big was that one, bud? That picture I got
was a
from
hog.
Wednesday.
That was that would been the potential state record. It would not register on the 50-pound scale, and the 49.3 I think is the record right now. So, and it wasn't that the scale didn't work because we weighed in a 41, a 43, and a 46. So we had 3 tanks already, and we had a 46 laying on the deck.
Yeah.
This fish, you could tell the difference between it and the 46. So, but there's no way to citate that fish at 2 a.m. on a Wednesday, trying to keep it alive. We already wore it out.
Yeah.
You sure it wasn't that striper?
It was, I think.
That's Stevie.
It was in
that was
sheep's and
bait
wolf
for
clothing.
that one.
It was one of those moments where the guy that I had taken fishing was an old high school friend and has done a lot for me. He doesn't ever ask for anything in life from me. Just he called me up and said, "Hey, would you mind taking us fishing?" So I did, and to watch him bring that big fish in, I almost all night wanted to tell him, "You just stop fishing. You're done. You're done. Your first night out, you're not going to beat it." So, if guys listen to this, I know a lot of tournament catfishermen, a lot of guys that are, in my opinion, it was over 50. So
was that a personal best for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flathead.
Yeah.
83 is my personal best catfish, but yeah, flathead was, yeah.
You get any pics of the belly?
I have lots of pics and videos and everything of it, yeah. Well, I think we did get one picture of the fat belly on it, so yeah.
It's incredible.
Could help you.
And that was the same thing. That night it wasn't until 10. We didn't get any fish right when we first got there. At 10 o'clock to 11:30, we were stepping on rods that we had laying around. Things were tied up. But the big one hit all by itself. There wasn't a hit an hour before it or an hour after. It come through by itself. And
cleared the area out.
But it was same thing. It was like an hour of hotness.
Nah, it's got me convinced. I'm just going to get a couple of setups. Just 2 rods.
Yeah.
Let's
That's
get
all you
2
need.
rods setups just for that.
And
to
when
do a handful of times.
When you get
great.
you got a taste for it, and you got to see what I love about it. Like when we called you guys on Span the Void, and we were fishing in that spot the night of your anniversary party.
Yep.
Hopefully, I can say with confidence that you get it, like why I love it.
Oh yeah.
And
Yep.
when you do get that 30, 40 pounder on a kayak, and you have to untether from me, and it pulls you around the river, that's a good feeling. You will be tired after that.
Well, I was tired after the couple I caught that first hour. I was like, thank goodness the bite slowed down. My arms are
Bless your heart.
I'm tired of catching. I have a lot of questions about this type of fishing, but I'll withhold them till we
I
do
wouldn't
our
do it if
flathead
I were
episode.
you, because you are the type of guy that would get addicted to it. You would never come home.
Yeah. You'd be chasing the dragon.
The 3 or 4 hours of eating chocolate and gummy worms, staring at the sky of nothing happening. That 3 or 4 hours of wait time is worth that 1 hour of when the bite's on.
Like deer hunting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Do you have any Susquehanna near you? What's the closest?
There's Potomac isn't far from me.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I want to go. I want to go kayaking on the Potomac.
Yeah.
And I know there's some muskie down there.
Muskie.
What do you got, Will?
Just all Ryan stories and
a happy birthday.
And being the
And a
birthday
happy
boy.
birthday.
yeah, just getting out with my good friends, Kyle, Ryan, looking to get out this weekend here and get to, try and close the deal like I couldn't do the first time.
Get some blood flowing.
I have good feelings. Like you said, this is going to be a great weekend. So we have a great spot. Everything's lined up to make something happen. And
Oh, yeah.
I'm just not sure how to recreate last year's magic. So I'm just going to apologize right now to Catfish.
Just wait for him to
Because
call.
starting Saturday, every day of legal hunting, you're probably going to get a text message from me. I was thinking about going out this morning. What do you think?
I'll tell you
Just be honest with me.
Be honest.
I'm not going out Saturday. I'm going fishing, so I have that same weird gut feeling that it's too early for me. So I don't have it. And one of the big reasons is the property where I hunt, they're doing construction right now, and it's not supposed to be over for 2 weeks. And it is a lot of noise and big equipment on the opposite side of the road. The ones I'm looking for just aren't going to be there. When it settles down and it quiets back down, it'll be. I have lots of time to archery hunt, so.
I have a spot for you if you want.
I know that. But one of the reasons I want to go fishing Saturday is because all the guys that are normally out catfishing will be hunting. So I'll have the whole river to myself. This has been a great episode. I'm actually looking forward to, for the first time, I'm really 100% interested in going sea duck hunting.
Yeah?
Yeah, eye-opening isn't the right word for me to use on this, but my interest is piqued.
Yeah. Well, it opens your eye, like from that tunnel vision of archery, deer, everything deer in the fall.
Yeah.
It kind of like you step out of that tunnel and say, "Oh, there's other stuff going on," and fun stuff, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Fun stuff, yeah.
So Captain Jeff Coates is at pittbosswaterfowl.com. Captain Mark is at marylandwaterfowl.com. Look both of those guys up if you're
They're the
that
experts.
area.
If there's no question about it. They're the two biggest names.
And when you get down
And
there,
sea duck hunting.
tell them everything they're doing is wrong and Rut and River saying.
Yeah.
Please do.
And only make your decision on who you're going with either captain based upon whether like soup or meatball sandwiches.
And if you go with Captain Mark, just say the name Rut and River Pursuits, and he'll give you a $100 discount. Just make sure you just short him $100. You don't have to say anything. Oh no!
say anything.
Oh no!
And be like,
Just point at your R2 hat. It'll be good.
Yeah.
Tell them Uncle Buck sent you.
Perfect.
So, where can they find us, guys?
Whoopiepies.com.
We should buy that domain.
I know we should, right? You can find us at www.rutandriverpursuits.com. Follow us on Instagram at R2 Pursuits. I was going to say at Steve Miser, but
Yeah.
you should definitely go check that out.
Yeah.
Steve
Get
Miser.
on there.
And following close behind is at R2 Buck. He's right on top of his game too.
Absolutely.
Listen to us on Stitcher and Google Play
iTunes.
and Castbox.
And, we just fired up that sweet YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So
Look for us on YouTube, Rut and
at
River Pursuits Podcast.
And don't forget, guys, to go on Instagram #2D Taxidermy for try to get that picture of the week. We have our logos that we like, but we're looking for a fun character. As we're sitting here at the podcast table, I drew another one. I've drawn hundreds of them now. If we have any artists out there that want to give us a cool animal fun character that we can wear on our shirts, we have a logo contest. You can find that also on our website page, front page.
awesome, guys. Thank you so much.
Later.
Gotta be proud of that dog right now.
I'm loving it as a guy that has to edit this up.
Super excited about it.